Welcome to Sober and Lit,
the podcast for women who want to get sober, stay sober, and live a life that's way more lit than it ever was with wine.
We're your hosts, Ruby and Susan, two alcohol freedom coaches keeping it real with stories, tools, and zero judgment.
Whether you're sober curious or all in, you're in the right place.
Let's feel lit, alcohol free.
Welcome back to the Sober and Lit podcast. I'm here with Coach Ruby, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year 2025. Woohoo. Has been quite the year, 2025, and we're getting ready to start a brand new year. So what if this New Year's Eve could feel different, not because of what you drink, but because of how you show up? Is this your friggin' first time? Is this your FFT, first time celebrating New Year's Eve, alcohol free? Are you sober curious and even wondering, how could I even celebrate New Year's Eve without the bubbly, the Prosecco, the champagne? Yeah. And what do you do when everyone is clinking their champagne glasses at midnight and you feel left out? Yeah. So this equation of booze equals celebration is a huge neural pathway in our brain. It's something that we've learned. It's been ingrained in us in social media, as Coach Ruby has told us before, from working for Corbell, that's what every ad is telling us, right?
Yes, I was a part of that, where every ad you had to say you have to start a holiday or a New Year's Eve or any celebration with champagne.
Yes.
And I think everybody got the memo. Right.
Well, and I remember feeling like that. I remember there was a friend of ours, me and my husband, who she was like, I only drink champagne. And everywhere we went, she would always bring her own champagne and bubbly. And it was like, ooh, she was so cool and classy. And I remember feeling like that. Like that was really, really hard. That was probably the last brick in the wall for me around alcohol. It felt sophisticated. It felt fun. How was I going to celebrate fancy dinners? This was the whole thing. This was the last thing. I remember even going for a walk with someone at the time, and she and I were talking about like how we wanted alcohol in our life. And in the end, I was like, I don't really want it in my life on a daily basis, but I want to be able to drink for fancy dinners, vacations, special events, and celebrations. And so that was really the last stake in the ground for me around alcohol. And I really had to do the work around celebration equals champagne. Huge for me.
Yeah.
And
almost every client or everyone I see when I do this work, that is a really big, the wiring in the brain from all the TVs and movies and ads and everything. It's celebration equals champagne. Yeah. So totally.
Yeah. So it was and you're dressed up. This would be a huge trigger for me. The cue, so we talk about the habit loop, the cue, the craving, and then or the urge to drink. And then if you did drink, how it ingrains that and then, keeps you on that habit loop. It keeps you in that wheel of self-sabotage, right? And that reward, when you drink, you get that big dopamine hit, which tells your brain, oh yeah, keep doing this. And so you're ingraining, celebration equals champagne, celebration equals champagne every time you do that. But the cue for me was getting dressed up. Mm-hmm. So if I was all dressed up, it felt like, okay, well now I have to have champagne. I have to have a glass of wine or something, or, a fancy glass in my hand. And so getting dressed up was a really big deal. And it felt like a letdown to be all dressed up and go somewhere and not have a drink. So identifying the cue for you is really important.
So my cue was probably, because I worked for Corbell, I worked for Mum Napa Champagne Houses, was that I had to bring it. I was the one responsible. I would always bring it. But we've got some tools here. We're going to talk about what if you keep that same, you bring something, but it's just now an NA sparkling. I mean, we've got some really cool tips to share with you. So keep listening. Yeah. But do you want to do our horror stories, past experiences?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I think it is important to note that we've been there. We know what you're feeling. If you're sitting there sweating it out going, how am I going to do this? So mine that I can share was 2019, which I think I've shared a lot on the podcast, which was really my year of experimenting a lot. But I didn't have really very many tools, but I would do a lot of 30 days. And so I'd already gotten through 2019 Christmas. I didn't drink on Christmas. I didn't drink all of December. And I get to New Year's Eve. And of course, that little permission giving thought, and it was like, you can have some champagne. Get a bottle, share it with your husband. Otherwise, it wouldn't feel celebratory. So we got the bottle of champagne. So, your brain tricks you. I think, oh, well, we'll share it. Well, my husband doesn't really like champagne that much. So he didn't really drink that much of it. So I drank most of it. Mm-hmm. And then he had a bottle of red wine that somebody had given us for Christmas. And then it was like, once I start, I just keep going.
Yeah.
And because I hadn't been drinking, I was like pretty lit. Not in a good way, right? And then you drink. So red wine on top of champagne, barf. Yeah. How do you think I felt the next day?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Some of the worst hangovers I've ever had are on the first of a new year. My entire life, adult life, even as a teenager, it's just been, I've been so sick on January 1st, which is supposed to be like a new beginning. And, but it's been, spending the night at someone's house because I can't drive home. My last drinking experience for New Year's Eve, I got so drunk because they also bring out the champagne again at midnight that I have to spend the night at my friend's house. This is what I've done. And then I wake up and I'm feeling horrible. I'm at a different house. I have to it kind of feels like a walk of shame, even though I didn't do that. But, it's just, and then I'm like, but I wanted to take my dog for a hike and I wanted to, do all these fun things on the first of the year because I have the day off work, but I end up just nursing my hangover and feeling crappy and my stomach hurts. And it's just no good. But do you want to share our first sober ones though?
Yeah, you share yours.
You want me to? Okay. Yeah. So like I said, my friends, we do this game night for New Year's Eve and we've been doing this for decades. It's really fun for New Year's Eve. But I want to share with you what really works, Susan, is we live in California and that ball drops. For us, it's 9 p.m. So we just pretend that it's midnight at 9 p.m. That is something that really works, at least here in California.
I think that's amazing because staying up till midnight is still...
It's I can't even do it anymore. Now that I'm alcohol free and living this lifestyle, I am a morning person and I really, really protect my sleep. But so the first time I brought sparkling wine there was NA sparkling wine. There's lots out there. And I love the one that's called H2O that, we're just plugging. We'll plug a couple different things, but H2O is really good. And other people were drinking, but I made sure I had my own and I still put it in a really fancy glass. We still clinked glasses. We still had these noisemakers and the little poppers, and it was still super fun playing games. And I just felt so good driving home. And another thing that I love, so you might want to, even in New York or, on the East Coast, think of ending it at 9, because what happened in my family is my aunt, before I was even born, she passed away from a drunk driver accident on New Year's Eve. They were not drunk. They got hit. Her and her fiance got hit by a drunk driver. So in my family, we do not drive. We do not drive on New Year's Eve. It's we just do not do that. So for me to get my friends to say, let's pretend midnight is 9 p.m., then I am on the road by 10 o'clock. I'm on the road, so I'm not driving. I'd even like to leave at 9:30, to be honest with you. I don't like to drive at all on New Year's Eve. I just think it's the worst night just because of that family horrible story. And so they were not drunk. They had not been drinking. I think she was in her early 20s, but they got hit by a drunk driver. And it affects the entire family still, even though that was in the 1970s. But so my parents have been, even when I was a teenager and going out on New Year's Eve, they would call me multiple times. They would want to know where I was. They would want to make sure I was spending the night. I mean, for me, I just want you all to be so safe, so careful. So why be on the road? Like, I'm just like, why, even if you're alcohol free, why be on the road, after like 10:30, 11? I mean, yeah. So that's my
Ruby,
story.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
That is a thing about alcohol that we need to, how many, people are like, oh, when you talk to people about, the risks of drinking, and the negative aspects around alcohol, people are like, oh, there's, everything's bad for you. Sugar's bad for you, da, 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 da. And you're like, yeah, well, I've never heard of somebody hopped up on sugar, killing somebody with their car. You know what I mean? No, alcohol causes deaths,
Yes.
drunk drivers, it causes so many deaths. I don't know what the statistics are, but it's a really negative thing in people's lives. Alcohol use disorder really affects families, ruins, families, and affects, and it causes death, right? So it can, so then you think, okay, so take that information, not new information, but that information, and you put it into your thought process. And it's like, okay, so something that causes death equals celebration.
Right.
A toxic substance for your body equals celebration. Does that compute for you?
Right.
So this is sort of how we poke holes into that
Exactly.
belief that alcohol is necessary for celebration.
Right. So what I would hear from people of, well, I need it to celebrate. But then the questions that I might ask someone that I'm working with is like, well, what is it that you actually want from a celebration? How do you want to feel? And again, you can still clink glasses. It's like if you close your eyes and picture, what is it? It's like clinking glasses, maybe. Okay, well, do you just have something different in your glass? You could still do that and smile. Yeah. So it's really about intention. Like, how do you want to feel at midnight or 9 p.m. for me? And, and what are you calling in? I mean, this is really a special time. This like New Year's Eve to New Year's Day can be a special time of solitude or with friends. I don't think you're missing out either. If you choose to snuggle at home and maybe, write intentions for the whole year of 2026, for example, but if you're out partying, we're going to stick with celebration on this episode, but it's okay to also, I just want to say, if you don't have a big party to go to, it's okay to like have a solitude moment, have time to yourself to really reflect. So I wanted to slip that in. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So it's so interesting. The word alcohol begins with the AL, right? If you break down the word of alcohol, the AL means the cause of all life's problems.
Really?
Yes. Isn't that crazy? In Arabic. So it's like, oh my gosh, so that from a science perspective, isn't that true? Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. The cause of all of life's problems. And that's so true in some ways, right? Isn't it? It's, and the idea of the calling it a spirit, it's like, what's the spirit of alcohol that it brings out in you? You know what I mean? Like, I've always talked about this before, but my husband used to say I was like a box of chocolates. Once I started drinking, you never knew what you were going to get. Were you going to get nice Susan? Were you going to get mean Susan? And so here we are at home, maybe just the two of us celebrating New Year's. And is it going to end up in a fight? And I've talked about this before. How many times, like really do this work for yourself, go back. How many times has alcohol ruined a special time? Like really do go back and do your historical, work, dig. And like, how many times, did it really enhance the celebration or did it end up in a fight? I think I've told that story.
Yeah.
Or, the hungover the next day, really feeling. And nowadays, like for me and women in midlife, honestly, it's not just one day of feeling like crap. It's like 3 days. So do you really want to start the first 3 days of January 2026 feeling like garbage because you had champagne and then you decided to drink red wine on top of it?
That is the question. I love that question. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. And then, yeah, what this idea of like putting poison in your glass and clinking and celebrating. And I know that's like really out there. People are like, oh, it's not poison or, toxic, but it really is.
Truly
it's a toxic
is.
substance.
Yeah.
It's ethanol. You are literally putting in your body the same thing that you put in your car to drive. You may as well, that image, when I heard that, when I learned that. And so this process is just taking new information and holding it up against what you formerly believed. And again, poking holes in that, because that's how we groove new neural pathways. So we look at like, is this old belief true? Where did the information come from that created this old belief? And especially when you realize it came from the media to make you buy stuff, you go, and, or just, family gathering, there's a lot of family history too, watching your parents clean glasses, so going back and kind of doing your historical work there. And then seeing, is it really true when you come from the science perspective, when you come from the facts perspective, and then is it really true from your own experience? Has it really enhanced celebrations, or is it true that it also has ruined some celebrations?
And is it true now? Because what can be true in your 20s or 30s, is it, I'm now in my 50s. And it definitely wasn't true in my 40s. The older I got, the more I drank, the more decades I drank alcohol, the harder it was on my body, the less I felt the joy. And when I really look at, what was happening in my body after drinking, it was just about 15, 20 minutes of maybe a dopamine rush, but I didn't start to feel that anymore. And so I love when my clients will like really do this kind of like mindful drinking exercise. So maybe we have a couple days before New Year's Eve. So if you're watching this before New Year's Eve, like you could actually do kind of like a mindful drinking exercise where you just look at how do you really feel? And if you realize that it's just, you don't feel that good, try with intention, an AF New Year's Eve, because why not? Give it a try, like experiment and bring your own, BYO, a mocktail or an AF beer or an AF sparkling. So there's kombuchas, there's spritzers, there's all kinds of festive ideas for you. Yes. So
absolutely. There are so many big AF sections or alcohol-free sections in even Total Wine or the big box wine stores now that you can find something to bring. Absolutely. I really like the Gießen sparkling. I like so many. There's some that are, Gießen is a little bit more on the reasonable price range side, which I like. And there's some more expensive ones, delicious. Woody's is one that I tried at this recent retreat that we went to in San Francisco. Woody's brand, the rosé it's phenomenal. It's probably one of the best ones that I've tried. There's Joyous. It's just fabulous.
Oh,
there's
yeah.
Pave. There's a ton of brands out there making sparkling alcohol-free wine.
Yeah. And I love
your beautiful glass.
Okay. Yeah, and I love H2O because it's in a can. Now, why do I like a can? Because I can throw a can into my purse, and it's so easy.
Or your luggage.
And if you want it just for yourself, like I know it's great to bring a whole bottle and share, but you had that story, Susan, where someone put like AF on the bottle, and it just felt weird. So you could sneak it. If you're not ready to like. Nobody has to know what you're putting into your glass. You have a nice champagne flute and you can just put in your own beverage. Yeah. And
bring it to the event that you're going to if you're going out. So that's to Ruby's point, stick it in your purse. It's a new twist on purse wine. Bring your own AF purse wine. I've done that before too. I've done that at a wedding where I brought a little tiny bottle of Prima Pave and I went up to the bartender and I said, would you please, I brought my own AF sparkling, would you mind putting this in a champagne glass for
Exactly.
me? And she was delighted to do that. I have an event coming up where I'm going to bring my own as well. I talked about this, I think my daughter's 30th birthday party. She chartered a boat on the Hudson River in New York, and I brought my own bottle of sparkling, alcohol-free, and I gave it to the bartender. And then it was like he treated me like a queen. Like there'd be this long line of everybody waiting to, 30-somethings, because she was turning 30, all these 30-somethings getting all their cocktails. And I would just even like walk by the bar, and then the little bartender would hand me a drink. And I was like, woo, I don't even have to wait in line.
Special. Yeah. I found that too.
Yeah.
Special treatment from bartenders because we're different. And I love that.
Way we're different.
Yeah. So
but also
we're
a fancy glass,
Yeah.
like that's, I've found like, so again, back in 2019, when I was experimenting and had lots of AF days, but still would have sip ups, or still would, like on New Year's Eve, drink and then beat myself up and feel like crap the next day, but which we try to help you not do as coaches. You just take the data, right? But I noticed that once I got a fancy glass in my hand and started like socializing, I was totally fine.
Yeah.
At the beginning, it was like, oh, I really, okay, everybody's having wine and I had my drink. But once I got it in my hand and I started engaging with people, I was fine. So
that's another thing. Keep that drink in your hand at all times. So nobody has to ask, hey, do you want some more champagne, or do you want, a beverage? But I wanted to also say, let's practice our toast line. Like, if that, like, here's a good one. Like, here's to waking up clear and proud tomorrow, or here's for the new year. But you can practice it and come up with some really fun ones. And then that's a way to really reinforce, that you want to wake up proud and clear headed tomorrow. Because to me, you can't beat it. I can't say it over and over again. Like waking up, like refreshed, having slept well, driving home safely, feeling proud of myself, feeling energetic in the morning. It is a game changer in life. It is leveling up life 100%.
Absolutely.
And you just have a different beverage in your cup for New Year's Eve. Yeah.
Yes. And we're not, just don't take it from us. Honestly, we both have coached hundreds and hundreds of women. And I mean, I was just on a coaching call yesterday, and they were like, living alcohol free is a complete up level. It is an up level in life. That was, just somebody who had 30 days, just like, realizing this is a game changer. My life is so much better. And so if you are on the fence, if you're sober curious, if you're worried about New Year's Eve, again, you don't have to say forever. You can just say for now. And you can say, hey, how many New Year's Eves have I had champagne? Can I try one? Just stick with that. Yeah. Just, hey, I'm going to experiment. Make it an experiment. Put on curiosity, dig into the mindset of how much fun can I have on New Year's Eve without drinking versus how crappy is New Year's Eve going to be without drinking. Like the mindset is so different. You go in with that different intention.
Yeah, just try it. Yeah, like you said, with curiosity. Because again, how many have you woken up with a hangover? So this is the time. We make it an FFT. Again, FFT, we use that language. It means friggin' first time or fabulous first time. And it's just the first time you try an event or a celebration or anything really alcohol free. Just give it a try with awareness and curiosity. And you know that if you do end up drinking, it's okay. But maybe give it a go. Give it a go.
Yeah. And then get the data. So what were you thinking? What were you feeling if you did end up did end up drinking on New Year's Eve? So don't beat yourself up the next day. Just get the data, keep moving forward. But let's just dig into like a plan. Okay. So Ruby and I are going to kind of like workshop with you as if you're one of our clients, right? Like, what's your plan? So first, you really need to set a clear intention of how you want to feel at midnight, maybe this idea of what you're calling in for 2026, and make a clear intention. And again, I talk about this in my 5-step free workbook for, any socializing event, alcohol free, is the first thing you do is you decide, you make the firm decision. This is your strong back. I'm not going to drink tonight. You set that intention. I'm not drinking tonight. And you tell somebody, tell a friend, jump into our sober and lit community and put it out there, and we will support you. But telling someone really solidifies it. Write it down, put a sticky note up. Tonight, I'm not going to drink. Like, just make that firm decision in advance. Because if you go in with, well, I'll just go with how I feel. Well, guess what? So just start with setting that clear intention. So what would the next thing be that you would help a client with, Ruby?
Well, visualization is the next thing that I do. I have like an 8 steps to an alcohol-free event, kind of holiday or event. And the second thing is like visualization is such a good tool. So yeah, if you want to visualize right now, you can close your eyes. Don't do this if you're driving though, but think about 2 ways. Like what happens if I drink tonight? What will that feel like? Like visualize the next morning. Play it forward is one of my favorite tools, but also visualize. The more important thing is to take the time to visualize actually having this New Year's Eve alcohol free. And really, because when you go there in your mind, visualization, you can go there again in real, because you've already done it. So you picture yourself like actually getting dressed and bringing whatever alcohol-free beverage you want to bring. See yourself clinking glasses maybe with your own sparkling water or sparkling AF beverage, and smiling and laughing and still having a great time. It's such a powerful tool. And so visualization would be the next thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I think that that's such a great tool. And then, be intentional about planning your evening. Make sure you're planning things that you enjoy. I love the idea of making a music playlist that, if you're having a party, or if you're a lot of us just stay home. Again, to the point of Ruby, I don't want to drive. And so a lot of times we'll invite people over to our house, just a few couples, and have a really quiet evening. So, plan a fun playlist of music that you love, that inspires you, that makes you, I don't know about dancing. Like I had a girls' night once when I was alcohol free, and just putting on all this like 80s music and dancing. And other people were drinking and I wasn't drinking, but I was just dancing with abandon because I was just like having so much fun. And it didn't really matter because I don't know. Like I felt like I even danced crazier being alcohol free than I did
too.
When I'm, drinking, because I get very self-conscious sometimes when I'm drinking, especially because I'm always like, my mind is like, am I drinking more than everyone else? Am I drinking faster than everyone else? I want to go for a second glass and everybody else is still on their first. Like when I'm not drinking, none of that is in my mind, and
Exactly.
I'm just super present and just having a great time. And so noticing just the freedom that I felt, or you could feel when you are dancing or partying and like really having a great time alcohol free, because your mind isn't focusing on all those things.
Yeah. So dancing, karaoke, all kinds of fun things.
Yeah. Or making an effort, going. One year when I was alcohol free, we went to a concert, and it was really fun. We went out to dinner with another couple, and then we went to the concert. And so we had an activity around New Year's Eve, which was also fun, having, a concert, or I don't know, a band. It was a band, going to a band, going to a play, planning an activity. Then you come home. I would also, one of the tactics I usually talk to my clients about is plan a reward for yourself at the end of the evening. Like something, so if you are in California, or you decide that you're clinking glasses at 9 p.m. and ending your evening, what are you going to do when you get home? Do you have a special treat for yourself or a reward for yourself when you get home to Just
Yeah.
have a little reward that you got through your first time, or just, something you love to do. Like, I don't know, just like your special cup of tea and sitting there and reading your book and having a calm night, or sitting down and writing out an intention, or thinking about what's your word for 2026, meditating or praying, or just like really inviting in goodness, abundance, life, freedom, vitality, really, what do you want to welcome in for this next new year, 2026, and taking a moment to just be with yourself. And I like to say, when you're brushing your teeth, when you're washing your face, look yourself in the eye.
I love that. So beautiful.
And really tell yourself, hey, I've got your back.
Yeah.
We did
and
this.
Everybody to know that's listening that you're not alone in this journey, and that we are here. Both Coach Susan and I, we have free online communities and groups on Facebook and off Facebook. So you are not alone. And a lot of times people do what's called a dry January. It's really, really popular. It's a time to make a change. Oftentimes people are like, I'm going to make my New Year's resolution, or January 1st. And this dry January movement, it's a global movement, and it started back in 2013. And it's just, you try it for 1 month. And it's a way to really reset your bodies, your minds after the holidays. A lot of times people drink a lot during the holidays and New Year's Eve if you end up drinking. But having 30 full days, people really, you sleep better, you have mental clarity, some people lose weight, increase energy, wake up in the morning with energy. I mean, that is amazing. So it's really a great way, because it's easy too. You can say to everyone around, I'm just doing a dry January. I'm trying this out. And it's not about if you think you have a problem with drinking, or it's really about experimenting, being curious. And what's interesting is you can find out if it's easier for you or if it's really, really hard. What I found out was it was really difficult for me. I was able to get about 2 weeks alcohol free the first time I tried a dry January, a 30-day challenge. But I knew with those 2 weeks that I really wanted to continue. So it was really huge. It was a huge part of my journey to getting alcohol free, was to do this dry January and to give it a try. And it's just a way to become aware of your habits and triggers when you're triggered. And what's really, really fun is I'm going to do a 30-day dry January challenge. So I'd love for you to join. It's going to be a private community with weekly live coaching calls with me and daily emails. And it'll just be a fun, gentle way to experience dry January. And there's no shame, no pressure. Yeah, it's just a way to really experiment with a whole month going alcohol free. That's where change can really happen. Yeah. So I'm excited about this.
And I think what's different about doing something like this with like you, Ruby, rather than just doing it by yourself and white-knuckling it through the month, is learning about alcohol, challenging some of these beliefs that we have around alcohol, like celebration, like what we're talking about on the episode today.
Yes.
Because I had done a ton of dry Januaries, and I made it through the whole month, but it was like white-knuckling it till February 1st when I could drink again. You know what I mean? And so that's, that's great. And in some ways that backfires, because I go, well, look, I could go a month, so I must not have a problem. And I did. I really did. And I needed to look at it, and I needed to, but I could. This is a gray area drinker, typical gray.
What's your celebration? I hear this all the time. I did dry January. So on January 31st, I'm going to celebrate by drinking. I hear that a lot. So let's get you past that, to really rewiring your brain. Yes. So my program is we're going to be talking about some of the main beliefs. We're going to poke holes on some of the main beliefs, like alcohol helps me sleep. Alcohol is fun. Alcohol helps me relax. I'm going to work on and talk about all the main beliefs, and then you get to also look at your own beliefs around alcohol. So it could be, I need alcohol to celebrate, which is the one we talked about today. So let's poke holes in that one. All right.
Yeah. So that is awesome. So Happy New Year, everyone. So this is the time in our program where we ask each other what we're doing on a daily or weekly basis to feel lit. So it's Ruby's turn to share one of the things that she's doing to feel lit.
Well, I decided to say, what do I do to feel lit on New Year's Eve? And that is games. I had to lean back because I wanted to say it so loud. Games, like I'm at Yahtzee. No, but the game that is a new one that we just did with the family over Thanksgiving is called Wavelength. And maybe you haven't heard about it before, but it's really fun. And why it's so fun, it's for groups, and you get into two groups, and it doesn't matter the size of the groups, but it's about opposite words, and you work with your group and you like really hash it out. And why I love this game is because I've really started to learn a lot about the other people in the group and what they think. So it's like, it's hot or cold on either side. And you want to pick it maybe in the middle. So you give a clue what's in the middle of, say, hot and cold. And then the other group has to like hash it out. Like, I think hot chocolate is not that hot, but a volcano is really hot, or it's really fun. And we laughed so hard. I love charades is another favorite, like where you just do silly stuff. And a friend of mine taught me a new way to do charades where you have less time and you keep doing rounds and it gets sillier and sillier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all the rules to that home game with charades, and I'll post it in with this episode, that game.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so great.
What is
and
your
I know
family?
people... Oh, I know when people think games, everybody goes, but when you actually do them, they are so fun. Because our family plays games a lot too. My brother is a huge game person and his kids. And so we love Poetry for Neanderthals.
That's
which is
fun.
A really fun game, really super fun. And we laugh a lot with that. But we play this dice game, left, right, center. And that's easy because you can just, it's super fun. And we did that with our group this last time. And we always end up laughing with that. I found this picture, you know how like pictures, Google Photos flash up on our TV screen. And there was one there of all of us playing a game. And oh my gosh, it was a candid, and you could just see somebody must have hit something. And like my mom's like laughing in somebody else's face. And it was just such an amazing snapshot of like how fun games are, even though I know there's
so fun. You say people think
sometimes.
Yeah, but say people don't think they're fun. I mean, I have 5 brothers and sisters. Games, we just played games nonstop. We were every board game you could think of, or we made up games, but what I love about something like Wavelength is some games it's just quiet. Right. And for like New Year's Eve, you want to have people talking and laughing and making things up. And so that's why I recommend that one. Or charades is fun too. But
yeah. I mean, some people, Cards Against Humanity is pretty racy, like hard to play with like your parents. But there's one that's very similar to that, which is called Relative Insanity. And it's a little cleaner version of Cards Against Humanity that we've played, which is a little bit better.
And Apples to Apples, if you have kids, is similar to Cards Against, is Apples to Apples. That's
yes.
If you got kids, you want to make it clean. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's so great. Well, again, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
This is the end of our second year of podcasting. And so I just want to say how grateful I am to you, Ruby, for being my podcast partner. And we are rolling into 2026 with some amazing guests, with some amazing episodes. And we are so excited to go into our 3rd year of the Sober and Lit podcast.
Can you believe it? I know, time just flies, and we are having so much fun. And please do reach out to us and let us know if you rate and review or text us. There's a little button there on Apple Podcasts to text us and say hi, or reach out if you want to work with us.
Yeah.
We've got
ask us questions. We're still answering questions on the podcast. So send us your questions and we will answer them on the podcast. We love our listeners. Love you so much. Thank you so much for supporting and listening to our podcast.
And we'll see you in 2026.
Thanks so much for listening to the Sober and Lit podcast.
If you enjoyed this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe, rate, and review. It really helps get the word out.
And remember, do something today to help you feel lit.
See you next week.